Hey, welcome again. We've got another episode of Cardboard Conversations. Today's episode, we've got the honor of hosting the one and only MrllamaSC. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Super stoked. Yeah. Like,
we're
if you're not aware out there,
tonight, but a lot of people call you not just a seasoned content creator, but also one of the foremost speedrunners in Diablo 2 as well. So, big ups on some of the awards and, trophies you got. I don't see him hanging there on the shelf yet, though.
There's some, there's some stuff back there.
You should blow him up so we can see his background, but that's okay.
Can't see him all exactly.
For those of you in the audience here that may not be familiar, Mrllama is an iconic figure in ARPGs. Now, I'm not just going to say Diablo 2, but he is one of the premier D2R content creators out there. Massive audience, massive following, been doing it for years. A wealth of knowledge, way beyond probably any of the three of us put together here. To come up with on D2R stuff. Like it's funny that I'll watch Mrllama just to give you guys like a real quick synopsis. I watch him all the time. Have been watching for years, and he'll pick up like, oh, it's a cracked military pick. Let me go take out Bale, the top monster, with this piece of white garbage, and I'm like, how do you do it?
You just gotta make it work. There's a lot of when you learn the intricacies of the game, you learn all of the little ways that you can abuse it. You learn all the little ways that you can figure out how to clear Ubers using an edge bow and reviving monsters. I mean, there's all sorts of like tiny little nuances. And just
you make it look easy, and then I go try and I die it like Rock and Eat You, and it's like, well, that sucked.
To be fair, Rock and Eat You is quite hard. Like he still kills me. He kills every speedrunner still because he's so brutal. Like that.
Oh, is that one of like the clinch points in a lot of runs? Is getting the stones all lined up?
I feel like for the very start, it's not like. It's so early. I mean, it's within a couple minutes, so it's not a big deal. But he's basically just one of those like tiny little points where you're still a little underpowered, and he's a great place to pick up like a level of experience. But you have to really
bolts hurt.
Yeah, but the charge bolts hurt, and you really have to get up on him kind of. And then he's extra fast, so he's not easy to kite. And you don't have anything yet, right? You have like 0 gear at that point. And a couple skill points. And so if you're not very well, kind of dodging him and all that, you get a couple bad hits from charged bolts. I mean, he could take you out for sure.
And this is what I mean, folks. Like it's that depth of knowledge that I was just making a point because Rock and Eat You is one of the first like sort of bosses you run into. Not even a boss. He's like what is considered like a unique.
Yeah,
and
mini boss,
it's really early on in the game, and I was just kind of making fun of me. And see, he's like, yeah, because Rock and Eat You's extra fast. He shoots the charge bolts. He's like, the amount of analysis that he puts into every intentional action that he's taking is mind-boggling to watch.
And that's helps playing the same gear for what, 10, 15 years at this point?
Yeah. I mean, exactly. That's something that you. Like as a speedrunner, you definitely build just from speedrunning, right? Doing it thousands of times over and over. But additionally that you go and study in a way, which is maybe sounds extra nerdy, but like, like you go and you study all of the map tiles. Like I have files just saved that have every possible map spawn, like tile and all of that. And I go through and, I've studied through those to see where that is. So I can know, oh, I'm in this tile. This is going to exit me towards this. Oh, this is going to have a dead end. I shouldn't continue down there. And you save 2-3 steps before you see that wall. And then things like, of course, Rock and Eat You and all of this, where you just have to know, right? There's just lightning enchanted extra fast. He's coming for you. And you're going to die there a lot. But you also just have to know what ways generally the bolts are flying out. So where you can stand a little more. All that stuff saves you a second here, a second there. But that depth of knowledge adds up over time. And then the second point I'm going to make with it is Diablo 2, especially speedrunning. Like when I watch other games be speedrun, sorry if I'm just like talking. If I watch,
oh no, we don't want you to talk too much.
No, we didn't invite you to talk.
Yeah, sorry. If I watch other games like speedrun games, I'm like, oh man, like these guys are flying and they're doing crazy tricks, right? They're just doing crazy stuff. I could never do it, right? There's so many pieces about Mario or Zelda or whatever, and that's because they're kind of flashier. They have a lot of glitches. They have a lot of frame perfect tricks, and the way that it looks. A lot of times it's not even as hard as it, looks, right? Like it looks harder.
On that note, is there a big any % run community for D2? I can't think of a lot of, glitches or bugs that I've ever had that were in any way beneficial. Is that something that
there is? It's like a teleport bug, right? That you can do some sort of clicking. I don't ever see Mrllama using it, but I've seen other content creators use the teleport glitch bug.
Which teleport glitch bug? Hold on.
It's like you click the teleport and have your inventory open, and when you close it, if the teleport goes off and you teleport exactly to where your cursor was, even if there's like walls and stuff in the way, and it's weird. It like teleports you way across the map in essence.
Oh no, he's talking about when you open your inventory, you are able to teleport farther distances.
Is that what
that's
you're
not a bug?
I use that all the time. That's not.
I was saying Llama uses that all the time. That's not a bug. That's a feature.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of. That's the thing. Diablo 2, for the most part, doesn't have the crazy. It's pretty well built, and so it doesn't have the craziness of like. I stand right here and I and then my character flies to the end of the
You don't
screen.
like jump to your scroll wheel or anything.
Right.
Doom 3. Yeah.
Exactly.
There's no game breaking bugs.
There's nothing like that. The biggest game breaking stuff, honestly, is like the wave skips and the bug in the ancients, So that was, and those are kind of more recent, right? Being able to skip Bale's waves is pretty a lot of people would never, and they're like, whoa, what the heck? And what's happening? And that's pretty frame perfect and kind of hard sometimes.
But hasn't that been there a long, long time? Like I remember dragging mobs out of there unintentionally. And then I go back in and I'm like, oh shit, there's another wave.
Yeah. So this isn't dragging them away. This is literally skipping the spawn of them.
I'm not sure how to do that.
That's I've got videos and stuff. It's
okay. I'll have to go watch that.
Go type in wave skipping Bale, MrllamaSC, whatever it is.
Speaking of videos, you've got well over 1,000 videos at this point. I mean, when I looked at it, it was like 129 million views. How is it that you're able to still play the same game, but to have fun doing it? I mean, every time I watch you stream for hours on end as well, you're smiling the whole time, sweating and smiling. How do you keep it up playing the same game for so long?
Yeah, so we actually have 3,400 videos, which is too many. Feels like
insanity.
I mean, there's a couple things. Number one, I just love the game, and that was something that I felt like to get into streaming, I really needed to just love the game, because you see too often streamers get big on playing a game, but then they lose their interest in the game. But then that's the game that the people followed them for. And if they stream anything else, they lose. Yep. Right, exactly. And and then it's this whole they just kind of hate it, but they have to do it. And it just gets awful. So when I was really thinking about getting into streaming and growing, whatever, I was like, I'm picking a game that I really love. And Diablo 2 is that game that I came back to for years and years. I'd put it down, I'd pick it back up. I'd put it down. That and StarCraft. I would just alternate those two and then throw some Dota in there. And I just did that. So, just
weren't you a PoE streamer as well? Like in the beginning, weren't you a PoE streamer?
Started? Yeah. I did a little bit there. I've probably got 700-800 hours in Path of Exile, and which is nothing compared to.
Right? If I recall, you said at one point it stands for StarCraft in your name there.
Yeah,
so I looked into your profile yesterday, and you actually had some speedrun records for StarCraft recently, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went back and did some mission records there.
That's pretty cool. I did not know that. StarCraft is one of those games that
Just I went back, broke some more records.
Yeah, why not?
How very Michael
StarCraft is one of those
Phelps
games
of
that I wish I was better at, but I
Yeah.
love watching like Clem versus Cyril and any of the casters that like Winter SC is a guy that I watch a lot.
Yep.
Really fun, entertaining commentator as you watch these pros playing at 500, 600 actions per minute.
Yeah.
And I remember I had one game in StarCraft where it was 2v2, a buddy of mine, we were playing, and I was playing Protoss, and I was going like a blinker rush, and I say rush because it was like 10 minutes. It wasn't a rush, but we were so bad, in silver or bronze.
Sure,
or whatever.
yeah.
But it was just amazing that my buddy got rushed. Both of them attacked him, and I'm sitting there making blink stalkers, and he gets wiped out. I tell him, "Come over, make your base in my base, and we'll still play together." And he ends up leaving because he's like, "Nah, we lost. It's fine." I end up winning that game. I took all my stalkers, went across the map, and I was blink microing, attacking. I actually won. Yeah. And like that was like the best experience. And I think that might even be the last 2v2 I ever played. Well, something like that. It was just like you got to end at a high note.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's a great game.
Oh yeah. I love StarCraft. Love StarCraft 2. Both fantastic.
So I mean, you gave a little background on where you started. Sorry, Pat. But I'm also curious at some point tonight if we can get into kind of where you're going. If for those of you that aren't aware, don't watch. Well, you should watch Mrllama. He's a fantastic content creator. So go out there and sub him if you aren't already. And you'll learn that he is he has some designs on the future as well. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about where you intend to go. I appreciate where you started, but where are you planning to go with things? What do you want to do within Diablo? There's a lot of stuff coming out this year. Path of Exile. Yeah. 2, you got Diablo 4 that's supposed to have your favorite overhaul with itemization in April. So I would assume we'll see some of the content for some of those things. And then there's other games as well. I don't remember all the names, but it's supposed to be like a huge year for ARPGs.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because it is supposed to be a huge year for ARPGs. I'm still kind of maybe on the letdown bus a little from Diablo 4. Not that I like fully expected Diablo 4 to be the best game, because I got to see it, a little bit more in its through the development phases, plus whatever they just showed everybody. And yeah, there was definitely a question of like, all right, if Diablo 4 ends up being fantastic, I'll shift into that. If not, we'll pop back to D2. And as the years went on and the development and seeing more and more, I kind of felt like I'm probably going to stick with Diablo 2. And so that's where we ended up. Going forward, it's tough to say. I don't think Diablo 4 is going to get enough itemization change. And, it's so hard because it's like there's so many issues that I personally have with the game. And then that just kind of, I think, may just not even be my taste, with it. It's definitely built for the future. It like the future generation, the modern ARPG gamer. And, so it has bad itemization. And honestly, I'm scared that they won't even know how to actually fix it. One, they'd have to do a giant overhaul that would like erase all the current items that exist, which will be really hard. Like, how do you exactly do that? Destroy everything? It's really confusing. But 2, there's other issues. There's the level scaling in it. There's the smaller things like the camera being so zoomed in. There's just the the annoyances of the battle pass and all the pieces of all this. And
funny you mentioned the camera angle. I play a lot of city builders and like real-time strategy games.
Yeah.
And that is forever an inherent camera angle. I have no idea why you can only get to a certain level of it. Yeah. And I think you're right that unfortunately a lot of game makers at this point have stuck to a certain formula. Yeah. And it didn't even feel like an evolution of Diablo as a series to me when I had played it. And the only way I got in on it is I went to KFC and was able to play Diablo 4.
Yeah.
And I mean,
that's what I did. I ordered on KFC on the app, and I was just like, oh, I got a free code. So I played it, and I played it until I forced myself to play it until I maxed level. I think it was 20 at the time.
Yeah.
And I was not impressed at all, and I was really down because like I actually love the Diablo series. I played Diablo 2 for thousands of hours. I don't know how many, just thousands of hours. It was a game that I played in high school, and I would just play it all day long, and it was a great game.
Yeah.
And then Diablo 3 came out, and I actually really liked Diablo 3. Diablo 3 was evolutionary in that it just felt really good to play. It was a modern Diablo, and to me, I was like, okay, so I played a few thousand hours of Diablo 2 or 3. And then Diablo 4, it is not a terrible game.
It's just
but that's not how you want to phrase the
right.
next
That's the
generation.
problem.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's
got I don't know. Like Path of Exile is the game that I keep going back to as far as action RPGs are concerned because it's so in depth. They change so much. The developers are really in tune with what the players want in large, and they don't always get it right, and nobody ever will.
Yeah.
But they work with the community and they change things. Like they just recently, this most recent patch, Affliction, hands down the biggest change in anything they've ever done. As far as like, I mean, they've done big patches in the past, but they like basically reworked every skill gem, and they added in like a new ascendancy for every character. There's 3 different ones you can pick from,
crazy.
and there's just so many things that they've added and changed. That is just, I don't know that Diablo 4 can compete, and people keep saying that like, well, it's a brand new game, it's only a few hours or a few years or a year old or whatever. It's like no. This company, they have 3 other series to learn from, and they're making the same mistakes that they made in the previous series that they fixed in that series of games, and then they're just repeating the same mistakes and just going, oh well, it's a new game. It's like, no, I'm sorry, learn from your mistake. But we had a cool question that I'd like to ask Mrllama. Cure MTG says, what changes would you like to see to the new season of D2R?
Yeah, man, it's a great question because there's definitely two sides to it. One, don't change things because are you going to mess things up? Is it going to get too crazy? Is it going to be too ridiculous and break the game in a way?
Right.
The other one, of course, being, like there's some small changes that can be made and not ruin everything. So I think the big
like
ones,
Mosaic?
yeah, like Mosaic. The big ones are the quality of life. More stash tabs, having currency be stackable, having a loot filter, right?
Loot filter, yeah.
Pure quality of life that will just improve it. I think you'll bring a lot of people back in by just adding that, right? Just having it be a little bit easier for, to play in that capacity. I'd also love to see them bring land back and allow mods to kind of exist in a way where they can be online again. That's personal, because again, if they don't want to keep updating the game, let the mods take over and do it. But right now there's some decent mods, but nothing can be online, right? Because they shut that down.
What about Project Diablo 2? In that like kind of what you're talking about, but just not run by Blizzard.
But that's an LOD, and it's staying over in LOD because they run their own private servers so people can play online. So it's the whole thing, and they're not going to come over unless they
to D2R.
Online. Yeah, to D2R.
I mean, because you do like some of the changes, like some of the helms that they came out, the rune words, and like I'll be honest with you, because I've been playing Diablo like since Diablo 1, right? That's why I even have the career I have. I had to build a computer because I couldn't afford a Pentium to play Diablo 1 back in '95, so I had to learn how to build computers, and it's just strung along, and that's why I'm a tech guy. But what I was going to bring up is, and I would love to see, and I even asked in your chat one day, how would you feel about them making rares on a random chance again? If you remember back pre-LOD, that the best items in the game by far were rares because you could get modifiers on them you just couldn't get on any unique. So how would you like to see, or would you think that would be game breaking to have that random loot chance of, oh my God, I can get the best item in the game that nobody else has on a random rare roll?
So you want to bring back the pre-patch rares is what you're saying?
No. I mean, actually even expand upon that, like make a ring have a chance to have like, life tap.
Oh,
He's like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah, that's exactly the same reaction I had. Yeah,
it's probably a no. I think I do love the idea of rares being best and magic items and there being variants and all of that, right? That's one thing that I like hate with D4 is that every item is just a legendary item, or
right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
which
that
is the
was
same
weird.
thing as a rare, right? It's a rare
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
put the legendary aspect on.
Similar issue in Magic the Gathering recently is
Yeah.
they
Create
put
your
too much
own
special
legendary.
on everything and none of it's special anymore.
Exactly. So I kind of like the idea, right, of having all these various items, but I don't think it comes from now making rares have the chance to roll and have life tap and that stuff on. I do think there are some small changes you could make to the affix pool, like maybe allowing some, this would be pretty crazy, but like having like cannot be frozen added into the rare affix pool or something. Some pieces like that, but I don't think you want to do this like really rare chance to get a rare item that has life tap or whatever on. I'd have to play test it though.
And I'm actually going to throw a curveball at you based on that alone, because the only thing I saw you really embrace in deep in the holiday season for the 22 Nights of Terror was the gambling.
I love gambling.
And the reason you go for the gambling is because those rare circlets are the GG, as you put it, circlets in the game. And it's the only item that I'm aware of that has for that slot the GG item in the game, right? The must-have sort of thing.
Rare boots, rare gloves also do as well. Crafted rings, crafted amulets, sometimes just rare rings.
I'm just saying, you seem to embrace it in some aspects, but
yes, like I say, I embrace the idea of bringing the like different aspects over there. I mean, there's also great magic circlets, right? I picked up a couple very GG magic circlets.
Skills,
exactly. Like I probably picked up just as many blue circlets as I did rare circlets. So I think the part that I just dislike is the like super rare chance of having this affix be in the pool, but it's not normally or something, otherwise I like the idea. I think the bigger issue though is the power creep that occurred with rune words, more so than the like fact that rares aren't good, because a lot of rare items are great. They just have no ability whatsoever to compete with these insane rune words that came out. You can't compete with grief, enigma, fortitude. Like they're so far away. Spirit,
even Spirit. Spirit's such a budget, amazing rune word that
dude,
almost one of the characters.
How do you compete it?
It's funny. The only reason I know that rune words exist is because I ended up watching your channel when Diablo 2 Resurrected was announced. I was like, oh, okay. So I started playing regular Diablo 2 again.
Yeah.
Seeing you like rush for these things, it was like, oh, I thought just runes were runes. They were like the charms you'd put in your inventory.
Yeah.
And there was no further evolution of that in my gameplay. And then seeing you put these things together, oh my God.
Yeah. It very much changes it.
Do you think
I appreciate that. I wasn't trying to argue with you. I just I want to know your thought process of why it would be bad.
I'm happy to let you have your own thoughts as well. And again, I don't think it's even the worst idea. I would have to play test and kind of feel it out and see,
I just kind of enjoyed back in the day, pre uniques used to suck. I mean, just a few weren't like Stone of Jordan and whatever, the one that we gave +1 to all skills. There was very few, or gold skin, gold wrap. There were just a few that were actually used. Most of them just sucked, just like most set items. And you would hunt those rares, but you would have a rare that like nobody else had. I kind of like that idea, because now it's very much samesies, it's a templated build. This is how you build it. Here's the gear you have to have. Yeah. And I just like back in the day when you could have a unique character because you found this once in a blue moon GG item that made you just workable for a class.
So I have two pieces to say to that. Number one, I totally agree. And I believe the issue there with what you're saying actually comes from the spawn rate of rare items and how often you're finding those and all of that piece. Which is something that has definitely increased. And that was something that I found when I played Dungeon Siege. It was the first game that I played, and it reminded me of that really old school Diablo 2, where you're going around, and I mean, I was running around with the whole party of like 7 people or something. But you're going around, and it's like, this character just has a blue buckler on that gives 2 to strength. This guy has a sword that's white, but it does, 25 to 35 damage. This guy, he gets, he has a rare helmet that gives a couple stat, right? Like, the gear was hard to find. You weren't just finding magics and rares and legend or, uniques and sets all the time.
Yeah.
It was like, I beat through the whole game and I still had half my gear was like white gear. And then a quarter of it, or a third of it was blue. And then a little bit less was rare. And, and that was my gear. And it reminded me of that really old Diablo 2, where it was like, oh, dang, that's right. Like, you didn't go and just find rares all the time. Like, if you play through Diablo 2 1.0, I've got a couple streams I went and did, playing through that. I had like so few like rare gear. My builds were still like great. And then, because like there weren't mana potions and things like that. Like, I had a Boazon that was running just 2 rings that were magic rings that had mana steal. And that was like, those were my rings, just mana leech rings. So I could get mana back. So I could actually continue.
Mana heal great
like
again.
The Pauper of Diablo 2.
It's the what?
So in Magic the Gathering, there's a format called Pauper,
where
you can only use the most common of
Pauper,
cards.
Yes.
And you were mentioning a bit before we started up the stream that Diablo 2 is your go-to for action RPGs, and that Magic the Gathering was your go-to for card games as well.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell us a little bit more about your history and interaction with the game?
Sure. So I started when I was very young. I was born in 1990. Magic came out probably around then, right?
93.
93.
93,
yeah.
Yep.
So my brother is 3 to 4 years older than me. And so he got into it essentially when we were very young. So I've got cards that are old, right? I've got like Alibaba and like sets kind of around like back then. Was it Unlimited? Was that the like white border?
That's one of the sets. That's early. That's the first year.
Yeah, one of the first year sets. I've got like some beta cards. I don't have any alpha though. I don't believe.
Most people don't. I have one.
Yeah. but I've got like kind of cards from that era and on. Ice Age, and then kind of all the way up through like 7th edition, I'd say. I've got a variety of
good
stuff.
stretch.
Yeah, so it was like a decent stretch where like I play. I learned, I played through elementary school and middle school. We'd go and like play with our friends and all that.
Right, game club after school and stuff.
Yeah. And then I loved, I have my elf deck that I just love to go like crazy with.
Still good, by the way.
Yeah. Elves are still great, right? I mean, and now, now you've got Landlord Elves and Elvish Mystic. And, it's like there's so many. Yeah. It's crazy. But so I played that through probably like high school. And then I stopped playing like middle of high school. Mm-hmm. And then I came back for like, is Ragnarok a set? That sounds like a set.
No. There was a Kaldheim.
Wow. What am I thinking
Apocalypse?
of? No, something. It started with an R, but it was like around
Ravnica.
Thank you. Yeah. So I like played some in there, and then I stopped again, and then in like the mid or like 2000, like 2015, 2016, I like played again with some more stuff, and then I kind of stopped playing after that. But I've always loved it. I've always had a great history. I think it's fascinating how well they've continued the game. And again, it's a game you can have your debates on it, but like it's a game that started in 93. It's 30 years old. They've updated with 4 sets every year.
Oh,
Oh,
geez.
yeah,
way
we
more
did-
than that.
You're
I
out
thought
of
it was
At,
every
like,
3
in
months they did.
2018.
No, they've
doubled
ramped
that.
the shit out of their production of
Oh, yeah.
sets.
They've
It's,
gone
it's,
out of
it's
control.
like it's
Okay.
like doubled every year since like
It went
5
from
years
like
ago.
Diablo 1
wild.
all the way through 2018, and
Yeah.
now it's Path of Exile with like 8 bajillion everything.
All right.
So it's-
I thought it was 4 sets a year, and that was
Oh,
no,
used to be.
it used to be. That's the
Oh,
last
yeah.
time I played it was still 4 sets a year, I think.
Oh, you
those
need
are
to
the
tune into
days-
our show, man, and catch all the drama with Magic now. We got the goods.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Magic's still amazing, but
I
yeah,
haven't
they've
learned any.
definitely they've got secret layers that are basically no longer secret. They've got
Oh, it's crazy.
you know,
We could sit here
it's-
for an hour
yeah.
going what they
Yeah.
have now.
But either
Their
way, you know,
sales model has
have you ever
changed
played
a lot.
Commander?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've played Commander.
What's your favorite Commander?
I have no clue. I play.
Doesn't even
I
have to be
have-
one that you.
I have a
you
suggestion
created.
for you. If it doesn't green screen out, there you go. That's your new commander.
Oh, there we go. Blade of Elves. That's it. I love elves.
Yeah,
Yep.
Lathril. Yeah,
She's
she's
baller.
pretty good.
You'll have to
Is,
take Golgari, black
Is,
green,
is,
but
is a Johnny a commander?
oh yeah,
Johnny can be a commander.
I always
yeah.
like. I always like.
he's not a very good one, but he is.
I always liked him as a.
But
character.
you know, you're the kind of guy that would like come to like a Magic game with a Johnny.
Yeah.
And wipe the floor with everybody. You just
I would try, yeah.
you spot like it's a busted military pick. How'd you kill Diablo?
Right.
And you're that kind of guy. So I think it's a kind of game that you would thrive in if you.
I actually have. I haven't tried Commander Reigns. No, I actually did a tournament in 20. It was a draft in like 2014 or something like that, 2015, and my draft was all over the place, but it was pretty big. There were like 100 people there or something.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was like a huge draft. And
Do you live in like a big city? Well, you said you move around a lot at the time.
yeah,
you
I'm
were
in
living
Dallas
like, a large
here.
area.
This was up in Oklahoma, but there was just a lot of people that came and drafted. And so it was like a full box. So everybody got a box, and you know, you bought a box for $100, $110, whatever, and then you drafted out of that and made your deck. And for some reason, I don't know, I ended up building a 5-color deck, which is a terrible idea normally.
Yes,
Right? Don't do it, especially
it's
drafting.
very tricky. Even in Commander,
Drafting is
it's a difficult try.
Yeah,
But I'm here for it.
but it worked. It was the funkiest one, and it worked. And then I was in the top 8 against the
Nice.
like best deck, and she won the first game, and then the second game she just got mana screwed, so I got a freebie. And then it was like, you know, it's best of 3, and so the final game, I like pulled out some way to win it, but she thought I top decked it, and she lost her mind and like flipped the table and was like so mad, going off, like, you top decking piece of crap, and I was, like just losing it. It was hilarious.
And on that note, I know, like we mentioned before, you've got a couple of speed running records, and being a competitive player in that aspect, is that something that translates over into other gameplay for you? Is that how you are in Magic as well? Are you cutthroat?
Yes. That's something that Girl, my partner, she kind of hates a little bit. But it's just one of the natural pieces of it, right? It's kind of the same thing. If you're really good, you know, you can take a pro football player, pro soccer player, whatever. People are always like, oh my gosh, right? They like go play golf, and they're like amateur golfers who are like scratch golfers. And they're like, that's crazy, right? Like Steph Curry and Tony Romo and all these guys, they're just like, so how are they so good at it? And it's like, because they're so athletic. Like if you're a professional football player, a professional soccer player, professional basketball, it translates enough. You have the hand-eye coordination.
Maybe
You're
with
used
the
to
ambition
speed.
itself.
Right.
know?
And even the ambition and the work ethic to do that. So for me, I play a lot of games. One, my job is gaming and playing Diablo 2 and playing through all these other RPGs.
Congratulations again on that. I love that you can get by doing something you love every day.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. But additionally, like I play tons of like board games and tons of
boy.
I'm and then Magic the Gathering and all this. Like I'm very much into gaming, and specifically strategic gaming, right? Stuff that isn't just the skill of how fast are you in a Street Fighter, or I'm not like amazing at like Call of Duty and like shooter, like I don't have that speed as much. That's not my focus as much. But you bring me games like StarCraft, which is kind of speed as well, or Magic the Gathering, or ones that have a lot of strategical analysis and depth, and that's my specialty. So
you mean like World of Warcraft?
Yeah, exactly. A little bit, right?
I think he's more talking about like
I,
Gloomhaven and what is it called?
Matt,
Twilight
stairs
Imperium.
to the
I'm a big board gamer. Between the three of us, I'm
nice.
probably the bigger one. I mean, if you saw my house, you'd be like, you have a problem. Like
Yeah.
I have a 4,000 square foot house, and I've run out of places to put board games.
I'm kind of at that spot. I doubt.
Oh, what's your favorite board game then? Like,
I've got maybe like 85.
What style? Like what kind of board game?
I've got like 85 games or so.
I'm probably there with you or more.
Oh man, I've really been loving.
You got to pick one.
I've really been loving Ark Nova lately.
Ark Nova. I've not heard of it.
Ark Nova. Oh, it's like a newer game. It's fantastic.
What style?
Ark Nova.
It's you build a zoo, and so it's
like a Euro builder.
What's
like
the best
Can or something like that?
It's like
holy crap, a lot
oh my god,
it's way more than I thought.
You said Twilight Imperium, and all I can think of is Twilight
Catan?
Imperium now. No.
It kind of looks.
Now that's too simple for him.
Yeah,
if he said Twilight Imperium,
Mars. It's very much a terraforming Mars
okay.
style, but less board and more individual boards. So everybody has an individual board, but there is still like community cards and community like achievements kind of and stuff that you're going after. But
and it's still head to head.
But it's a little more, but it's a little more like you're focused on your zoo as opposed to terraforming Mars. There's just the one board that you're all building there.
Is Dinosaur Island a game you've played?
I have not played Dinosaur Island.
I've never heard of Dinosaur Island either. Superfast Tortoise is recommending.
I have not.
How about Clank? You ever played Clank? That's probably my top. Pandemic.
Clank is good. You should play Clank for sure.
Right,
Pandemic as well.
Now there are some actual pretty interesting board games upcoming here. It looks like for 2024.
Yeah. Yes, I'm just about to ask. I was leading into it. Damn it!
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize this was coming out. What?
Really?
You didn't hear about this?
Are you kidding?
No, I never heard about it.
There's
no
two
way.
Here.
Really?
Just so you know what we have on the screen there. One of those is a Dungeons and Dragons style, which Matt is an awesome DM. By the way,
that seems awesome. Yeah.
And then the
board game.
Tabletop board game, which is the one on the left.
I'm always skeptical of games that try and take advantage of hype of name.
Oh, I'm stoked for
Yes, I agree.
I'm
buying the copium on these. I'm down. I'm 100% buying.
For sure.
That being said, the StarCraft board game is actually not bad.
I didn't even know there was a board game with StarCraft.
Yeah, it's actually
sounds kind of cool.
Yeah,
and I've got to say the same thing for Frostpunk. Phenomenal city builder game, very difficult simulation style, and they made a board game of it, and it was a phenomenal translation into the cardboard side of it. And as far as the standardization of a lot of tabletop role-playing games, if they just use a D20 system and slap a very gothic horror-esque, layer of angels and demons over it, they could go pretty crazy with itemization, which is the key thing for RPG players. Like you said, I think that's one of the reasons why we get drawn back to D2 so much, is because they really keyed it out very well.
Yes.
And if they can capture that for players in a campaign of a tabletop role-playing game, that's phenomenal. I mean, I want to kill goblins and get more than just a leather hauberk. Okay, cool. That was nice, but give me something that's rare.
Yeah.
So is this now tickling your fancy? Is this on your radar now?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely on my radar. I will.
My mind is blown that you didn't know about this.
Yeah, me too.
I did not. There's a lot of stuff, I didn't catch this one.
True.
It's on my radar. I won't be a first buy,
though. Survey you can go and check out to kind of get keyed in a little bit on some of the things.
To give them, I already did that. Yeah, twice actually. I created 2 accounts just so I could do the survey twice.
Cheater.
To feel like I had some sort of input.
There you go. I'll definitely check it out.
I had a friend that he always, anytime we played Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, he always every single game, he wanted some kind of influence from the Diablo lore.
Yeah.
Whether it's Bolkathos or adding basically like having like Bolkathos as his like god patron or something like that, bringing something in there, and it was like actually having the lore of Diablo is actually pretty dang good, and having a world actually just realistically just having the book. You can implement it into Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition if their system is bad, which I think they're using the D6 system, which I'm not a big fan of at all. Like it's easy for people to pick up and play, but it's so boring.
I didn't see anywhere where they said they're going D6 system on it.
I read something about a D6 system where you like roll 3d6, and that's basically like your standard. That's your rolls for everything. And I've played other D6 systems, don't like it, but that's just personal preference. Either way, the lore book that they bring out, like the material that they bring out, I think will be very useful for a ton of different people that will build their own world using the lore from it. And it's just being all in one place. Just that alone is super valuable. But then also having a board game as well. I don't know if they're planning on doing like a Gloomhaven or Descent or that kind of style of game. That would be really good.
Curious.
Because if you play through a story, like Gloomhaven has a story, funny enough. They have like a scenario booklet. Same thing with Frosthaven. If they do that style game for Diablo, I can see it doing very well. Because those games, you know,
I see the potential of it immediately, and like you say, it seems like a Gloomhaven is the perfect way to implement it.
Hey, if you ever feel like trying it when it comes out, as you can tell, we've got cameras and don't mind streaming. So I'd love to throw some dice with you sometime, maybe.
That'd be fun.
Ooh,
I'd enjoy that.
We can get a little series going.
That sort of speaks to something that's been
throwing dice,
on my mind for you, Mrllama, and that is, I know that you have to put an insane amount of time, behind the scenes, not just what people see on camera.
Yeah.
And as you said, you play a lot of games. You like board games. You're trying other video games. You're prepping your material. Which I don't know if we've covered this yet tonight here before the stream. You're creating your own game, Llama RPG. Get more of that a little bit later. But you are also a new father. How are you managing your time with all of these effectively?
And coming on our podcast, more of his time.
I'm not effective. I'm not effectively managing it. Is probably the best way. It's hard. Shout out to Moo. Again,
shout out to Coffee.
Yes, thank her for allowing you to come onto the stream. I know there had to be a discussion at some point, but
for sure,
please thank her from us.
I think that's the biggest thing is, when you are a father and all that, everything is now a discussion. Everything is now a trade-off and all of this, because for me to come on here, she has to watch the baby and so it's like there's a lot of just give and take with all of that. I try and give back as much. It's hard, but I do try. You're just effectively trying to manage it as best as you can. But there's definitely, I'd say the hardest or biggest issue that I've run into with it is if I'm doing a stream, maybe it's a speed run, maybe it's a hard run, maybe it's whatever, and I get to the very end, but I'm not done yet, but it's time to kind of sign,
time to go to dinner.
Right. It's like the baby needs to get a bath and then it has to be put down, or we have to feed and all of this. And I'm at like the hell chaos and I'm having a hard time. It's like, do I just say, all right, chat, like I got to be a dad and stop here? It kind of kills the hype a little bit. I
it's
feel
rough because
bad.
some people would look at it like they might think that like you're not being a good dad because you're not like taking care of the child, but at the same time, it's your job. To me, people need to like realize that your job is to maybe even put in 8 to 10 hours a day. Maybe a little bit less depending. And just because it's a video game means nothing. Like I had a girlfriend one time where she hated that I raided on World of Warcraft for 2 days a week. And she wanted to keep doing things on those days that I raided. I'm like, I raid for 3 hours, 2 days a week. If I played baseball those days, if I bowled, you wouldn't care. But because it's a video game, for some reason, there's like this negative connotation on it. It's like this. But yeah, I think so far, I think you're killing it. I mean, I obviously don't know your personal life.
The best way to solve that with a domestic, the best way to solve that with a domestic partner is to corrupt them, get them in games. So I applaud you getting her into World of Warcraft, but I'm still telling you, I will buy you a copy. I know I keep pushing you, and I know you're about to hate what I'm about to say because you've avoided responding to it. Get the retail version. I'm telling you.
God, the
See,
retail.
I know. See, I knew you were going to have that response, but I'm telling you.
No.
Yes, dude, not for him, you morons, for her. Come on now. Like that, she's going to enjoy that much more. It is much more. How do you put this?
But I'm sorry. Are you advocating
friendly?
for?
How is that?
Are you advocating for retail or classic?
Retail.
He
The
wants-
retail.
Oh, I'm on board.
much more
I'm on
casual
board. I'm
friendly.
on board for retail. Screw classic.
No,
yeah.
he likes classic because just
It's
for
old
those of you
school.
in the audience who are not
Okay.
aware,
Yeah,
The-
he's an old school guy.
Mr.
Yeah.
Llama,
Yeah.
hold on. Mr. Llama is a masochist. He likes punishing himself. I'm going to do Diablo with no armor. None. I'm just going to win the whole game, and I can't put a single piece of gear on. And the whole game is designed around gear drops. He's like, I could do it without it. So he likes challenging himself with the hardest, longest, grindiest, which I have another question about that in a minute. But yes, I understand how that appeals to you, and I'm kind of learning that about your personality over the years. But I'm telling you, for her, it's just going to be easier. They got question marks over their head, like, hey, they got a thing on the map pinging exactly where she needs to go, and a mob jumping up and down, waving, hey, kill me. I'm the thing you have to kill. And it's just, it's spoon feeding, and it'll make her experience a little bit better than dying in that damn night elf cave over and over and over again.
To be fair, I think Season of Discovery was too far. I think Wrath of the Lich King is
I'll buy it
working
for you.
Great.
I'll buy it for you. I'll pay for it.
I think
I will
Wrath,
make me a friend and I'll buy it for you.
I think she enjoys Wrath. We're doing all right there. Season of
Wrath is
Discovery,
fantastic.
dying in the cave 50 times was a lot. I think that one was harsh and a little
Anyways,
tough. For
I'm
her.
just giving you a hard time. Thanks
But-
for taking it so well.
We'll maybe look one day at retail.
Well, I don't want to look. I don't want to say. So, how much of a masochist are you? I have a question.
Too much apparently.
Do you
No.
if you weren't streaming, would
Yeah.
you do the same kind of challenges, or do you do it just to spice things up? Because I have to imagine it has to be because of the stream. I don't imagine you would
Right,
do a
yeah.
no armor run if you were just playing by yourself. I can't
I
imagine.
think he would.
I wouldn't do a marathon while I'm, I'd put the treadmill away and not kill myself on that. But
Two birds, one stone. Come on.
playing through it, I think I still would kind of do some challenges.
Yeah.
Like I actually really loved the first time I beat the game, which was much later than you would
Which
than you would
version?
imagine. Just Diablo 2. Like I beat
The
it.
vanilla?
It was LOD. I beat it for the
Okay,
first time in 2000 and probably like 12.
Okay.
And that's single player because multiplayer kind of doesn't count, right? Like you're playing, you have all the people,
Yeah, if you're getting
and
carried by the
trading, and you're getting
people, yeah,
carried.
who
You know,
knows?
it's just like so. Like, yeah, I had played thousands of hours at this time, but I had never played through the single player campaign, which is something I feel like a lot of people never experienced, and they missed out on a fantastic part of the game. But my first playthrough was a barbarian, and it took me probably a month to like get through. Now I wasn't gaming every day and all that, it was on and off a couple hours here and there, but like it took me a bit. Like I played through and it was long and grindy, and then I got to like the Nightmare Ancients and I got stuck at the Nightmare Ancients, and I had to go back and farm Mephisto until I got some better gear, and then I killed Nightmare Mephisto, and then I moved through, and eventually I got stuck again at like Hell Ancients little, had to farm some more, and it was like a fabulous experience. I was like, wow, this is like such a great grind. Like I just loved it. I just loved that grind through. So I think totally if I wasn't streaming, I'd still be doing more challenging runs and pieces where I'm like, you know what? Can I beat the game with, poison dagger necro? And that's all I get, and it's this slow, meticulous, just like, but it's fun. Every bit of progress feels rewarding. And I think that's the really great part about it compared to the modern game now, where so much stuff is just like fodder and it just doesn't matter, right? It's just like, Path of Exile especially is a great example. Great game, but 99.9% monsters literally don't matter and are just paper as they
That's one of the things Pee-wee 2 is trying to solve. I think they feel like they've gone to, I know they for sure. I've watched tons of interviews with devs on Path of Exile. They know they've gone too far, and they know they can't pull that speed back because the lashback from the community anytime they try to slow things down, anytime they try to make things difficult. The lashback is absolutely insane. The player numbers dive, they lose money.
Yeah.
They really can't. Unfortunately, their hands are a little bit tied. And this league right now is 5 times more rewarding than the most rewarding league they've ever released, and that's 5 times multiplier, not additive. 500% more loot, more power than they've ever released, and this is numbers that were backed up by the top streamers that farmed the most. So yeah, 5 times more. Put it this way, you know what a Mirror of Calandra is, right?
Yeah.
I found my first Mirror of Calandra in 20 or at least 10 to 12,000 hours. Wow. I've never found one. I found my very first mirror. I still have it. I'm looking at it right now.
He legitimately sent me a screen capture of it. I'm like, I don't even know what game you're playing, much less what this means, but I can tell in just the excitement of it.
It's Tyrell's Might on steroids a little bit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's insane.
Speaking of which, my camera dying on me, no idea how or why.
You're looking great up there, Bob.
Thanks. I do have something for us. Great tie in there. So let me get rid of this and get rid of obviously my wonderful face.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Today, I actually just a couple of hours ago, they had a Terror Zone Mephisto. I won't go through all this, but yeah, these are the things.
Nice.
I love Terror Zone, by the way.
So while I've got you here on stream, and I'd like a little bit of sort of hype build up around this. So the last item that Mrllama needs for his Grail just so happens to be a potential.
It's one of the last 4.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But a couple of the other ones, they're like Haas and Nell Striker are in the 4 as well. So it's like whatever.
So I'm going to ask you, should I buy an identify scroll to ID?
Don't let Kane do it. You got to identify.
Don't let
yourself.
Kane do it.
And for those of you that aren't familiar, the Holy Grail is basically collecting every unique that can drop on
And
solo
set.
player, and set item, and collecting all of that and having that drop within within one playthrough or within a just being offline mode.
Years.
Just over the years.
Just over the year, yeah. He's
offline.
This item has the chance of rolling between 6 different items, or is it? I guess it'd be 5 because not the set item.
This has a 1 in for this item. It's 1 in 9 chance of being
1 in 9. Oh,
so I may not hit it. This is my first Sacred Armor to ever drop, but it's one of the ones I know that Mrllama wants. I'm sorry, I thought you were down to just a single item. Maybe
basically again, finding this would be like huge. I can go get Nell Striker and Haas in a day easily. Whenever I want to, I can go farm those. Astrians is another one. That one will take a little bit longer, but this is the item. You find this item, and all of a sudden you're over the hill. Until you find this item, it doesn't matter. You can find every item in the game.
A 1 in 9 shot of actually being the item.
Yes.
This Sacred Armor could either be Tyrael's Might, which is what we're looking for. What's the other one? I think it's like a green armor.
Templar's Might.
What's that?
Green item is Templar's Might. So you're looking for
Tyrael's Might, the Ornate Plate, Ancient Armor, and I don't know the other. You said there was 9?
No. This is Sacred Armor. So it's only going to be 1 of 2. Either Tyrael's Might or Templar's Might. Isn't that correct?
Yes. Are you saying that Tyrael's Might is 8 times more likely to be? I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes, this is 8 times more likely to be Templars rather than Tyrael's.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So here we go, folks.
You're cracking in a pack right here.
Yeah.
Wah. If it had been blue,
Llama inside, he would have died a little inside if this was actually Tyrael.
Well, there you go, Llama. You don't have to stress it. I did not hit the lottery.
Sorry about it.
So actually, interesting enough, something on the screen that I wanted to talk about, and I know you voiced your opinion, and I don't remember. I've watched your podcast where you talked about, video. I don't know if he's a one-man person podcast with the video. Yeah. Anyways, I've watched your video, but I can't 100% remember, so I'll just ask the question. Immunities.
Looks pretty good.
I don't actually necessarily hate immunities in Diablo 2 as much as I do when they're part of the main storyline. When you're talking about the council and you're talking about ancients, do you think that that's a mistake, that having the story progression halted by an immunity to your character that you literally can't pass unless you have a rune word called Affinity or other?
Nope, that's changed, Matt, because they have these now.
Charms,
No, I know, but before that,
Sure.
I like the charms. I actually think the charm system prior to them nerfing them, I think was better.
Yeah.
Because I can't stand immunities. So
Oh my god.
Nagel Manold Nokasen identified,
And
by the way,
Cathans.
up there, and Tankards. What a rough.
yeah, but
rough,
what are the
rough
chances?
go of
Are the
it.
chances good?
All right. No, the chances
Anyway.
are like 32%. I have like 39s on my
34,
worker,
yeah,
but
right. Not horrible.
All right.
or 34.
But yeah,
It's
so immunities.
garbage.
What are your thoughts on immunities?
Yeah, so immunities are really a very interesting like debate and just piece that they put into the game. One, it will just hard lock certain characters, and you have to know tricks, know ways around them, essentially, to really solve the puzzle of them, which is cool because it's like, all right, I do only cold damage, and this guy is cold immune. So I either need to figure out a mercenary and a way to get that, but maybe he's, gaining a lot of life from, that like Desace I'm thinking of, where he's a Doom Knight. He can like keep regenning his life and stuff when he casts that stupid curse.
Yep.
There, so it's like, can my mercenary do enough, or is he dying? Do I need to figure out some like dual spec build for it? Is there some sort of item or prevent regen that I need to hit him with to stop? There's a lot of like interesting, really great ways to solve the puzzle, but I can see it being such a hard puzzle to solve and so tedious in some ways that it turns a lot of people off. I think it really is also something that goes back to old school games, which are just harder and people are more accepting of difficulty. A lot of newer games, people don't like difficulty. They don't like roadblocks. They don't like things that stop them from doing whatever. They don't want to kind of think as much with that and grind as much with that. And so more new age gamers really hate immunities. I think there is probably a better balance between the two, where it's like there is the, something is immune, but it still takes 5% damage. So if you really want to, you can really like slow hit your way through it, but you're not like.
Yeah, there's something in Path of Exile called cycling damage reduction.
Mm-hmm.
And this is basically their solution to that problem where you're talking about where you can get hard locked. It is extremely noticeable on a rare when it has cycling damage reduction. What it is you think when I think cycling damage reduction, I think that it rolls through like fire resistance, cold resistance, the lightning resistance, cast resistance, physical resistance, and then like at a certain point it'll be resistant to those. But it's actually the opposite. It's the inverse of that. It's resistant to everything but lightning resistance for 5 seconds, everything but cold resistance for 5 seconds or whatever. I don't know the tick, but yeah. So you'll come against a rare and all of a sudden he's taking no damage and you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden his health starts to move. I actually think that would be better than immunities, because at least you'll find the rare, he's going to be dangerous for the certain amount of time, and then eventually he's going to flip into the thing that it's not resistant to, and then you'll be able to kill it. So it's still a roadblock, it's still a hurdle to come across, but you're not completely locked out.
I don't hate that. I don't think it's my favorite because I don't like time-based things in games where you just have to wait for the time, like I don't love that within game design, but I think it's not a terrible solution to it. I really think doing something with the small percent, or kind of like TCG dude says in the chat, Diablo 2 is the first time that I accepted defeat, deleted, and restarted the game with respect for the game. Like I also kind of love that piece of it, where it's like the game beats you a little bit.
Yeah,
that was kind of the thing with some older games. They would just beat you, and then you had to figure out, all right, I guess I restart, or I go now. You have respecs. I go respec, or I take the time to solve the puzzle. But it's so
well,
so much for the.
It's just immune. Get wrecked.
Like
I was at a Java. I was playing a Javazon through the campaign.
Yeah.
And this was in D2R. So I think it was before the Sunder Charms. But after before the Thunder Charms, but in D2R. I was playing Javazon, and I'm like trying to remember and bring back all the Diablo 2 knowledge that I had, because I've played, like I said, thousands of hours back in original Diablo 2. And then I played every now and then POD, Path of Diablo, or some of the mods. The mods are really great. So yeah, what I remember, I got to Hell, and I got to the cave, the very first cave, and I think the main boss is immune to lightning. And
he's immune to cold
and lightning. Or is it cold and lightning, or is it just cold?
So he's immune to cold, but he can roll lightning enchanted and then be immune to lightning as well.
Okay, so that's what happened to me. So if I would have known that I can just remake the game, I probably would have been okay. But that's where the knowledge comes in. But instead, I remembered, I'm like, going through Nightmare, I needed some way to get resistances lowered. So I remember to get a lower resistance wand for the curse. So I was like, okay, if I can do that, I can break the immunity and I'd kill him. Well, I would do that. I would break the immunity, and I would just sit there and wail on him for 20 minutes. Not even joking, literally 20 minutes, because even though Javazon does a ton of damage with I think it's called Charge Strike, it's still not enough damage, because you break the resistances, but he's still like 99% resistant to your damage. So you're doing like nothing. My mercenary kept dying, and I'm like, this is so bad. And maybe I would have been able to like farm up rune words, get stronger. It's such a roadblock for me that I'm just like, I just don't need that. Not that much. I like the challenge.
Well, honestly, you could have skipped it. He's not required for beating the game.
I get it. It's a big roadblock for me. Like, okay, console. How do you deal with console if you don't have the ability to break through immunities? Now I know that console, I think they're the ones that they can randomly roll immunities, so you can like keep remaking the game until you get one
like
that you
Torque
don't
Ice
have.
Fist is always cold immune, and then the other is always fire immune, right? Like they have their set ones, they always are, and then they'll roll the other ones here and there. So yeah, you just kind of have to
another one that has random.
You just have to kind of like find.
But then I'll hate to say this to both of you, but that's partially why it is a multiplayer game.
Also, that
they didn't intend you to just play it. If they intended you to only play it in your own little corner, being poked by a stick, then they would have not made it an online multiplayer game.
Okay, well, Bob, you checked too many boxes. I got to ask at this point. I was watching one of Mr. Llama's videos about Llama RPG.
Yes.
And one of the things you decided was to not have physical damage as one of the damage types. Now, with that being one of the reductions in damage types, how is it you're going to deal with this problem in the game you're making?
Yeah, it might be a very stupid idea. I'm totally open to the
right podcast. Don't worry about it.
Right, I'm totally open to the idea that that's a terrible idea. But my thought process was damage, and so I'm making a game called LlamaRPG Farm to Fable, and I've been designing it for a year plus now. Honestly, for many years, but I took a big break.
It's based in Godot, right?
Yes, based in Godot.
Yeah.
And so all of it really came to me from how I wanted this damage system. It's a turn-based game, and I wanted this combat system to be kind of a unique, interesting combat system. It's built off this one other system that's very simple and basic. But the idea is you get 3 actions, and they get 3 actions, and you pick your 3 actions. They pick their 3 actions, and then there's like a fight. Right? Like all the actions.
Like Final Fantasy VII.
I haven't played the Final Fantasies. I know, terrible of me, but potentially. But the idea is you pick 3 actions each at a time, and then they'll resolve in the order that they're supposed to resolve, based on speed and all of this.
So it's kind of rock, paper, scissors-esque?
It's kind of, but like any turn-based is kind of rock, paper, scissors-esque in a way. But this is more so with the hey, there you go.
Oh, sorry, showing your baby on stream.
I appreciate it. With more pieces to it, all right there. So
it looks very, very Pokemon-esque.
Yeah,
that was the first thing I thought.
Some Pokemon like influence. I kind of got influence from a lot of the games I loved growing up in various ways.
Sure, of course.
Now,
that's the best way to do things.
Does this have much Pokemon actually to it? No, but it has a little bit of the look. But the general idea there is you're going through those. And my thought process was, I like this interesting combat system where damage is dealt just as like a pure damage. So like I attack you with fire damage, but you can block fire damage. Whereas that's not something that you see normally, right? It's like always like I hit you with the physical damage, you block with the shield. That's some like of the reduction, but there's still some comes through or not, right? Whatever it is. I didn't really love that for the game. I wanted to be more unique. And so I thought what would be really interesting is having it's 8 different damage types that exist. And they could be anything. You could call one light, one dark, one this, one that. The type doesn't so much matter. They have certain things they can do based on their types, but you can kind of make them whatever. And then have somebody literally be able to block that specific type of damage. And so I thought that was just an interesting idea where I'm attacking you with cold and fire. You block cold and light. The fire gets through. And it is this different style as opposed to I swing the sword and it's always kind of doing damage unless you either like block it and it's a full, block so it doesn't hit, or there's just like you take a certain % of damage with damage reduction. I kind of thought that's a system that's, existed forever and always does exist in all these games. But is it more interesting? Is it kind of a fun, unique twist for that not to just always be the case? A sword doesn't deal physical damage. The Sword of Ice does 3 to 8 ice damage. And now you're taking ice damage, but you can also full defend, block all the ice damage if you successfully counter it in a way. And so it's more of like interactive in that capacity where there's some rock, paper, scissors, but there's also a lot of knowledge. Because now I'm thinking, okay, I know I've seen this guy has a really awesome ice sword and a really good fire bow. Maybe I'll pull out my shield that blocks kind of some fire and ice, or I think he's going to come at me with the sword more. I'm going to pull out this and try and block just the ice and go heavier on that. So I take no damage from it. And so, you enter the battle with a limited number of items. And as you fight through the battle, you'll learn what the items are that your opponent has, their damage types, their shields, what they can block well, what they don't have good block on. And then you can try and start exploiting the weaknesses as the battle continues.
I heard you say that you get the item they're fighting you with, that it's not just random loot. So
yes.
I thought that was a very cool. I've always liked that in games because it didn't make any sense, right. Something that's dropping ice balls on me and it drops, a shield. It's like, well, where did this come from? Or a 2-handed sword or a bow. And it's like, what?
I mean,
World of Warcraft had that problem a long time ago, or actually really probably still does.
I want that giant sword you were swinging at me that looked cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go find 8 venom sacs from spiders and you kill like 100 spiders, but somehow you only get 2. Like they all have it. Come on.
I mean, if you're using a hammer, that makes sense. But, outside of that, yeah. And I just want to really applaud the choice you made in the art style. I'm a huge fan of the 16-bit stuff. Yeah. And, this is very reminiscent to me of Stardew Valley, a game I've spent, 1,000 hours in.
And I kind of feel like it's between old school Pokemon and Stardew Valley. Like Stardew Valley is prettier. It's a little more polished, touched up. Like it's 16-bit, but the sprites or the animation, just all the detail that he has is really fantastic.
Well,
I think that's similar eventually.
Are you doing all the modeling and work on this yourself, or do you have a team of people behind you as well?
I have a team of people that it's a small team, and it's kind of like, I'm paying the guy who's like deving. Everybody else, I'm like, hey, I'll give you, a little bit of shares eventually, right? Like when it releases, you can get X% of game revenue and all of this to try and like get some stuff paid. But I mean, I'm also just funding it purely myself. But yeah, there's kind of a team doing just kind of.
Have you thought about doing like a Kickstarter for it?
I was going to ask if you're doing a Kickstarter for it.
Yeah, I'll probably drop a Kickstarter, but I want to do a Kickstarter after we have a demo available or some sort of alpha. I want there to be something where somebody can get in, play it, and say, this is a game I want to kickstart, as opposed to kickstarting it with hype and then it coming and them getting to play something and being like, oh, actually, I don't really love it. This isn't, I'm not excited for it.
That's always feels bad if you like.
And I know you said
really
the entry
good.
price point you're targeting is pretty low.
Yeah.
Like $10. I'm just gonna say it. So everybody out there, definitely when this comes along, keep your eyeballs open and do us all a favor, do yourself a favor, buy a copy of it. But some of the things I know you've heard that really key in when I'm a listening part of your audience, and you say that it's never going to be a pay to win game.
No,
but does that mean you'll never have microtransactions for like cosmetic kind of things?
So I'm also not aiming for that. That was actually something I was debating. Like I hate pay to win. I'm not going to have any garbage with any of that. But I was debating the monetization for having it just for that, right? I was like, okay, maybe just for like cosmetics, whatever, because it's more accepted nowadays. But when I think about it, I'm like, I still hate that. Because that's still kind of winning in these games. It's not directly pay to win, but like looking cool is something that I feel like should be rewarded through play. And
what about quality of life?
Quality of life, I think, should just exist.
It should just be in the game.
Yes, I hate having a solution, but not just like implementing the solution. It's like we made it so the stash.
You're killing me here. How do we give you more money for it then in your efforts? Are you going to have a donate button at least?
Essentially, that's essentially how it's going to be.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
because when I paid money for Path of Exile, it wasn't because I absolutely have to have these stash tabs. It's like, all right, these guys have done a significant amount of work, and I not that I'm fat stacks of cash over here, but I was like, yeah, I'll throw a couple $100 at them. They've earned it.
For sure.
So to speak.
Yeah,
I've given them.
I've put a few $100 into PoE, and I agree. It's like they've earned it. I'm happy to support it. I don't think my way will generate as much money, but I kind of don't care. I'm not making this game to make as much money as I possibly can. I'm making this game because I want to go back to kind of older school gaming and build a game that I think is really fun and really great and doesn't focus on trying to monetize. So you'll pay, $10 for the game. There'll probably be, $15 if you want to buy the soundtrack as well. It's pretty dope. I love the soundtrack. And then have like, it won't be a donate button. What I'm trying to make it in a fun way. So the thought is it will be a boss that you can go in and fight. He's in like a very specific, like this is the section where you spend money to do it. And you go in and fight this boss, and he's immune to everything except money. And so you just have to fight him with money.
Interesting.
And when you
I
kill him,
have a suggestion for that, and I don't know if you caught that in the stream.
Yeah,
something I would love to see for a flavor win. Because if I remember right, because I only caught it momentarily, like in a stash tab, that you had the currency being gold.
Yes.
And I'm like, a llama with gold, wouldn't it make more sense to have like a llama that has bananas, right, for currency rather than gold, or nuts or berries or something? You have different types of berries and to break down the currency, but just like kind of a flavor thing to have a llama that doesn't really care about gold. He wants the snacks or whatever, right? And that
I don't hate
change gold into something like that.
He just wants a good nut.
Yeah,
right. Get him a nut. Get your nut.
We all.
I'd have to really think about.
You have a vendor that only takes credit card payments, and when you do, it spawns little loot pinatas that you got to go and smack up.
Loot boxes, hell yeah, dude! I'm in.
Oh god.
Yeah.
What's funny?
A suggestion for the soundtrack sales too. There, just being a content creator.
Yeah.
How about entice us on that? Like, I'd be much more interested in buying the soundtrack if I got licensed to use it on my streams in the background.
I mean, I would definitely give you that, like, for sure.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, make that a thing, or even a higher tier. I'd even pay double. I'll pay $30.
Yeah,
and then I have the rights to be able to not get YouTube say, "Hey, you're demonetized."
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
I would automatically have the license that you can use it. I don't think you can.
I don't know about that.
No, you can. So. Nintendo does. All of Nintendo's music, if you like play on stream, they'll do
they are monsters.
I've seen people use Diablo 2 music for like hundreds of videos.
Yeah, Blizzard just doesn't come after it.
Okay.
It's company. A lot of companies don't care. Nintendo's one.
You're advertising their game. Why the hell would they care? It's so.
Well, silly. And that's why I was just making that suggestion. Make that like a disclaimer and almost like a feature. Like, hey, for streamers, if you buy the album, you can. Use it.
Totally.
Pretty cool.
You can use it.
One of the things that I've discovered about myself, I shouldn't say discovered. I know. I'm a massive graphics snob, and the graphics to me for even the Llama RPG, it's not my style. And
Totally fair.
and when they did the Diablo 2 remastered, I remember it's amazing. It's so much better.
Yeah. It's really
however, I will say this:
great, yeah.
I'm so pleasantly surprised that a game can still be good for me without having good graphics. So there's still
Minecraft.
obviously I'll still give it a shot. Minecraft was one of them where I hated. I would not even play it because it looked like
we had to beat him up to play with it.
It looked so bad.
Yeah.
But the only reason I tried it, one was to play with Bob and Pat, and two was because I played Terraria.
Yeah.
Terraria, I can't believe how good of a game that game is.
Yeah.
With how bad it looks.
Yeah.
I think it looks fantastic.
Yeah, for me, that's
especially
what I say bad. It's just my
unmodded,
personal taste.
yeah.
I would
Well,
prefer.
art's always a taste, right? There's
Yeah,
always
I would prefer.
like I don't. For
amazing.
example, like Grand Archive is a TCG out there, a newer one.
Okay.
That's the new younger kids, because I'm the oldest fart here by a stretch. And like I was 23 when Magic came out. And
it's okay. So it's a weeb game.
Yeah,
what
anime?
It's a weeb
I
for
love it.
sure,
It's
but it's anime, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not bashing it.
Llama,
But
I like you more than ever.
Anime is not my style, right? Like I'm just I don't see anime and waifus and go, oh yeah, that's for me. It's just
Right.
I'm not bashing people that like
in.
it. It's just not for me, right? And it'll be like that for Llama. So I agree with Pat. I think it's a bold choice. I'm not hating on it nor loving it. I mean, really kind of tugs at my old Pokemon playing on a Nintendo.
Yeah.
Was a Game Boy that I play at work all day long.
Oh,
When
yeah.
the red, blue, and whatever color it was, little Pokemon things came out, and it really does harken to that. So that there's a part of nostalgia that it's just going to tug at. I mean, I don't know if that's intentional, but it will.
It's for himself,
kinda
I
hit
think,
that
more.
It's
He
for
enjoys playing
myself.
the older games.
Llama RPG, I am building the perfect game for me. I'm building the
Nice.
game that I would want to play and I would absolutely love. And so that's really what it is.
Your Lonely
Wait a
Island
second.
game.
Does that
Like,
mean
if you
I'm in for a
expanded on an
masochistic?
island. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm in for a masochistic grind?
I will try
Probably.
and also take into account that there's some people that don't love all the grind all the
Can,
time.
can you
But,
make selectable modes?
there'll be like hardcore mode, softcore mode, and I'm gonna have Iron Llama mode. So you can
I told you need to make an Iron Llama group mode.
Yeah.
What?
Maybe
what
a
is-
group.
What is the fascination with llamas? Where does that stem from? Out of curiosity.
It's actually pretty funny. The fascination is from the spelling of it. I when I was a kid, I fell in love with it because it was 2 consonants to start a word. And
It is weird. Yes,
I had
agree.
it was weird. I hadn't seen that before. You have, you've got your aardvark and all your vowels that eerie whatever that are doubles, but I'd never seen 2 of the same consonant starting a word. I don't know what another one is even now. I can't think.
Lloyd.
What?
Lloyd.
That's a name. You got to take
Okay.
names out.
So
Names
now
don't
I want
count.
my llama to be named Lloyd the llama.
Lloyd the Llama. Yeah. No pronouns allowed. But otherwise, I was like, this is a real word, not a name that has 2 of the same consonant to start it. And it fascinated me. And so I carried on from there. So I didn't even actually super care about the llama itself as a kid. Now I can.
It's the word
I
more
like
than
it
the-
more.
I was wondering if it was the animal. I thought it was the animal, but I'm like, no, it's probably got to be more than. I got to ask this question.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So would you
cool.
go to work? Would you go to work for Blizzard? I know you love D2R.
Yeah.
At this point in your life, if they extended an invitation for you to come work for them, would you?
I mean, it would depend a lot on
Salary.
well, yeah. I mean, eventually there's a price for sure. But it would also depend on like what my say would be, what my position would be, what all of that. I'm definitely at a point where I don't want to like go in and just be designing like one little system of Diablo 4 and putting that, like I don't care to do that. That wouldn't be that exciting and fun to me. Oh yeah, I built the vendoring system in Diablo 4. Like I want to have way more say. Yeah, like I want to have so much more say in it. So it's like, hey, if they like brought me over to like continue D2R and I got to like make all the decisions for the continued changes added into the game and stuff, that would be pretty cool. I might consider that one, but
what is one thing? What is one thing that D2R has done that you can't stand? Is there one thing I should say?
Mosaic. It's
it's so Path of Exile.
Okay,
isn't it?
if you could get rid of one, hold on. If you could get rid of one rune word, one rune word,
Mosaic.
you get rid of Mosaic over Spirit.
Yeah, Spirit
over Enigma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, if you get rid
great.
of Enigma, you're gonna like destroy
ruin your
PvP, and there's a lot of stuff that'll be a mess. Enigma is a whole debate, and that's
Enigma's
a whole
fine.
separate thing. But
And I love them all, to be honest with you. I want them to make even crazier rune words, to be honest.
But Mosaic
also,
is the crazy part. It literally breaks the game. It will crash your game if you don't have like a good enough PC.
It's so Path of Exile. I love it.
Yeah.
Like they need to make something. They need to make something to make the Necro actually playable. They need something for physical boazons to actually bow. I think they need to make each archetype with their major tree. Each tree needs to be something not cursed totally worthless. Kind of. They're
Summoner
trees that are like garbage.
Nah, Summoner Necro's good.
Necros are the worst. Come on, Necros are the worst class in the game. Period.
Oh, Bob, I gotta say, it's probably my favorite character to play.
You might like it, but
I love it.
You want to know how you can tell? And all right, now you're getting the real Bob here, Mrllama. and you know how you can tell, Alex? I'm sorry. What is the most expensive torch?
Probably Assassin
Paladin,
now.
Right?
Oh, pardon?
Right.
I mean, with Mosaic, no, it's still probably Sorceress or Paladin.
Sorceress by far. What's the second most?
Paladin.
Okay, what's the third?
Assassin.
It depends on the assassin.
Okay, and then the fourth and fifth are kind of tie at Barb and
these
Amazon.
Are all these aren't dictated.
And then you have almost the bottom tier is Druid.
Druid and Necro are down there.
And Necro is the least desired torch.
I would say Druid is probably less desired than Necro, but they're probably close.
No, because the Hurricane Druid can still
love Hurricane.
Can play any kind of Druid, right?
I mean, it's great, but
Necro's just slow and garbage. But it's not me. I didn't make these prices.
You can get actively drunk and still play the game and have fun.
That's the Necro.
Look.
That's the
Go
Necro.
out to any site that monetizes it, and you'll see that Necro's at the bottom.
Yeah.
Sorry, it just is. I didn't make it that way.
But is it at the bottom because
thing.
of power, or is it at the bottom because of popularity? Some people don't like minion builds. They don't like standing there while their minions smack shit.
Yeah.
That's a big
and there's poison builds too that you can play that aren't, or a bone build, but they just suck. And that's my point: is that they need to make it where it's not like here's a clear winner, and here's a clear loser. Like I think they need to make that much more balanced.
I'm almost on the other side. I feel like the balancing that you get of so many games nowadays makes it too homogenized, and you lose a lot of the kind of fun of the various characters and the discrepancies. Now, I think Necro has some early game and mid game lack of damage and improvements that could be made. I am with you there, but I think to like when I play through the Barbarian versus when I play through the Sorceress, I get a very different experience. When I go play another game, Path of Exile, a little bit even as much, I don't get that different experience quite as much. A lot of the skills start to feel the same because they all have to have an AoE clear enough and all of this. And when you try and balance too much, nothing feels that different. And so I like there being differences in power. And one of the best things that Diablo 2 does is it has big differences in power in various places in the game. It's like the Barbarian kind of sucks playing through the game, right? But then he's like decent when he gets shouting and all of that. He can be like not bad. And then in the end game, he's actually the best magic finding character because he has item find. And that's like
only in a very limited spot.
No, I mean that's
yeah, but you're not going to run. You're not going to run a Barbarian through cows. Sorry.
No, you don't take it through the cows. But he's not.
You're not going to do it any place where there's
but that's the thing.
Mobs,
he's
right?
not an AOE farmer.
Right.
But you take him through the pits. You take him to the trav. You take him to the tunnels. You take him to like he can farm
tons of monies,
a lot of areas, and then he's also one of the best gold finders. You have your sorceress, who is generally just pretty good all over. She's kind of one of the just like super strong there.
If he gets teleport and it breaks the game.
Paladin,
but that's only in like narrow builds.
So good.
But then,
it's only a narrow build with narrow gear. But if you want to play a Bozon, how the hell do you even do that?
Now that's the thing. Javazon is S tier.
Okay,
right?
yeah, I love Javazon. You can't play a Bozon.
But Bo-Katan is not as much S tier, but you can still, but like PvP, Bo-Katan is godly. So like now she's really good.
Oh, that's why
there.
I don't know, because I hate PvP.
I was gonna say
go.
she's really good at PvP.
Yeah. So it's like each
Magic Arrow
character
wrecked.
has their spot. It has their space where this is where they're actually really amazing. And that's something that I do love is
Smiter Paladins are good at killing Ubers. You've got
right.
Hammerdins that
A
are
Smiter's
good at,
good at Ubers, but you're not taking him
he
to the
sucks everywhere
cows, you know, right? A Poison Necro is amazing in the cows and amazing in some of these players' aid areas, but he's terrible in like kind of the chaos, right? A lot of poison immunity. He's not great there. He's not great at Veil Waves, right? Like he's not good at killing bosses, but he's an S tier character for the spaces that he can be. So it encourages you to build multiple characters, have different experiences.
Speaking of that, you know, speaking to the title and to your comment there, when you've got to build different characters to have fuller experiences with the game, I think Diablo 2 mastered that.
Yes.
Where if you built a sorceress, you kind of have to build an element type to go through. Diablo 3, if you made a sorceress, you could just be all of it. If you chose a class, you were all of that class by the end of the game.
Yep.
And with Diablo 4, I think for me, there was so much expectation for the game to have more improvement than it did. And I think that compared to Diablo 1, where it was such a slow-paced game and very gothic horror inspired.
Hey, don't bash on Diablo 1. That was groundbreaking in the day, boys. You guys are all too young to remember.
My experience,
I played it on PlayStation.
I was probably 12, and my father for Christmas got me the Diablo war chest thing. So it was Diablo 1 and 2 with the expansion and a Prima guide in it all at once. And instead of being just like wild and starting right off with the newest best game, I actually played all the way through Diablo 1, even though I owned a physical CD copy of D2, just so I could have the whole experience of like going
kill me not.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty good.
I got to the butcher and I freaked out on Christmas
we all
Day.
crapped our pants.
Yeah, like that
fresh meat.
Phenomenal. And I think Diablo 2 just pushed that even further, playing against some of the bigger bosses and such. So in my opinion, Diablo 2 of the whole series, by far the best of the RPGs.
I agree.
Yeah.
Llama, is that your
I'm going to say it's hold on. I want to clarify that. I'll even say the current iteration in D2R is the best version of Diablo 2, and in my favorite Diablo version of any kind of Diablo.
Now, I think you got to fight on that one a little bit with certain people, but I can respect the opinion completely. I think Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 are really the debate. Some people liked Diablo 3. I think it introduced a lot of problems and kind of strayed far away from the idea. But I think, like Matt was saying, he really enjoyed it. I think there were pieces that you could say, at least they tried something new. Diablo 4, the biggest complaint that I really have for it, I've got complaints of itemization and all this stuff, but the biggest one is they didn't try anything. Everything is fine. There's no,
it's kind of boring.
They didn't.
There's no innovation. No rune words.
Very flat.
Rune words. How did you not bring back rune words?
They didn't push to add in new features and make it this new expansive. Where I'm like, oh my god, what's this? This is. They didn't do that. So I think you really come down to Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. Now, Diablo 1 lacks a lot of the quality of life and honestly is just a great, simple, classic game. And it's the one that people bring up when they talk about, kind of how good a game can be in such simplicity. It is a single town, a little pathway, and then just 12 levels, 16 levels?
Something like that.
Down.
You're more knowledgeable than me about that.
Yeah,
I haven't played Diablo 1 in
if I had to guess, I would have said 15 levels, but I'm probably wrong.
Well, something around there, right?
Somewhere between 12 and 16.
Yeah, somewhere between 12 and 16 levels. And that's it. And it's just the next level, the next level, the next level. You just work your way down. The monsters get a little bit harder. It gets a little bit scarier. At 16, okay.
Yep.
And that is all that the game is. There's not all these different acts, all these crazy things. You're going and collecting these altars. You're doing all this. No, it is just that. But it's so good because the items are great. The lore is great. The gothic look of it is fantastic. And just the feel of the whole game is great. but it's just simple. Right? Diablo 2 takes that. They get rid of a little bit of that gothic scariness. It still has a nice
crawl,
feel.
the slug. Yeah, the slog.
Yeah. They get rid of some of the slog and all of that, but they expand so much. It has 5 acts now. You've got all these great areas that you're moving through and these side quests that you're doing with the,
and the story evolution as well.
Yeah.
The continuity of it. By the way,
Somebody
I started a poll in our
statement.
YouTube chat here. So let us know what you guys think is the best Diablo game. And Richie Dubs, I actually did, in fact, leave out Diablo Immortal. I don't even consider that one of their games.
It doesn't even warrant discussion.
No.
It's got red hair. We don't talk about that one.
I mean, it's kind of funny because Diablo Immortal is actually a little bit better than Diablo 4.
I was going to say Diablo is not terrible. It's not a terrible game.
It is pay to win and absolute garbage in that capacity. And that makes it way
only
worse.
Pay to win. How about we say that?
Yes, it is terrible in that nature. But the systems that are designed within it and the PvP and all that stuff actually isn't like horrible. I don't think it it makes it as even close to D2 if it didn't have pay to win. Nothing even remotely like that. But I think in terms of system design and all of that, next to Diablo 4, I kind of prefer some of the Diablo Immortal systems if you removed all the pay to win out of the game.
Here's where I'm stuck with Diablo 4. I really need more information what you mean by the itemization being a problem. Because I really honestly it hasn't grabbed me enough to play it all the way through yet.
He hasn't even played past level 20, so he doesn't.
No, I have. I played recently in the last week past level 20 just because I'm trying to prep for the next season. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with Diablo 4 is, first off, it doesn't have anything that hooks me. There's nothing that makes me want to come back and play. Like what Matt said, it's not bad, but you don't want to walk away from a movie going, wasn't bad. You'll never rewatch. And it's kind of like that with Diablo 4 is that it's not bad. It's not terrible. I've played a lot worse games, but there's nothing that makes me sit at night going, ooh, I can't wait to log back in and do X. Like even in Diablo 2, I'm still doing that. Like I still want to roll the damn Tyrael's Might now. Right. And there's just nothing like that in Diablo 4 to draw me back in. But I know they plan on releasing more later, and it feels like it was a half-baked cake. Like they released it without it being complete for whatever reasons, economic pressure. It just feels like like maybe it was trying to beat Path of Exile 2 to the punch. Like I don't know what their reasons are, but it feels very half-baked. Like it's not bad what's there, but it's incomplete. It's like a cake without frosting.
My guess is it dealt with the Microsoft acquisition.
Try
and generate
corporate America ruining our games.
I mean, it's totally corporately pushed forward.
Sure.
The game is.
There was a lot of interviews.
There's a lot of
interviews that were talking about them. Sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of interviews that they've actually talked about this, where people have exited the company and they have talked about the game. They released it in such a state that it was nowhere near release. And if you've played the game since it came out, you could tell that it was not complete. If they release the game in its current state in the beginning, I bet you there would be probably a significantly less negative
Cyberpunk much though, Matt. That's just not how games most of the time work.
I know, I get it. And when we talk about
I'm going to argue with that, and I'm going to say Blizzard usually does. Historically, they have held off. Almost every release I've ever looked forward to, it's they're going to release it maybe this year because they're so bad on even announcing the release date.
Blizzard.
And then it's it comes out 2 to 3 years after you thought it was going to come out anyways.
I mean, but it was 8 years in the making at this point. They had a lot of turnover with it. They kept having issues of it would have one direction, then it'd have a new direction. You saw them when they were going through all their posts, they were discussing the stuff they were going to have, and then it just kind of got cut, and this changed and got cut. It just felt like the direction wasn't there. They didn't have the set goal, the master document that had it all out, and one person that masterminded it and said, "This is how it is. Go build it." It felt like pull in just systems from left and right and ideas and not this and eventually
that
Blizzard was
they
like,
didn't
just
have
get
the
it out.
confidence? Is it because there wasn't a person that stood out as the right pick for that? Or is it they didn't want to have their head on the chopping block if they muffed it up?
I feel like it was, to be frank, I don't think they had the person there who had the right ideas. And again, I as people, I like the developers. I think so many of the developers are great. All of this. But I feel like the main people developing the game were console Diablo 3 players. And they didn't have
my face too, Bob. Yeah.
They didn't
the
have
video they released when they had the devs playing and they were interviewing the devs. There was like the 2 chicks playing the game. That was the most cringe, painful watching of an action RPG game that I've ever seen. And having
it would be like watching Chris Cox and
that.
Cynthia Williams play Magic.
Yeah,
sure. And I don't have a problem with people enjoying the game they want to the way they want to enjoy it. But when you're like releasing content that maybe they were trying to be relatable to like the couch gamers or something, I don't know. It's just when you're trying to like showcase how cool your game is, I don't think you showcase that part. I think you showcase the coolest, most badass the game can be. So you can give somebody aspirational content to look at and be like, oh, I want to be that badass. And I don't want to be like, I don't know. Yeah, either way. The Diablo 4 is not a bad game.
Fair point. Especially Diablo has one of the most hardcore communities in comparison to other games. I don't know if Stardew Valley we talked about before. Yeah. Is there a hardcore like Stardew Valley community, that's into playing that every single day? They're not grinding out in the same way. There's no trading. There's no secondary websites where people are going on eBay to buy really cool swords. Like that's, and with that being such a core consumption of the audience, I think that not to speak to that was a huge miss in their marketing campaigns.
Yeah. And just in their development, again, the developers were not the people that we're going to go on eBay and buy an item, not that needs to be the person, but like the people that were like thousands of hours trading and building all the wealth and doing all this and all of that. I feel like that's who you need, is the person that has the passion for the game. And I'm sorry, I don't think that's the console gamers. I think the console, if you're showcasing me Call of Duty, bring out the console, great, all of that, and have the dude who's like 20,000 hours. That's the top rank, he's done all the stuff with it.
The guy that looks like me with a big headset microphone.
Right. Have that guy be there and be influencing and having the design. And I mean, I think that's just, now we're kind of just talking at what has happened to gaming a little bit with corporate America and all of this. It's moved to the big wigs, to the executives, to the more, and you don't have that passionate person there
Magic
anymore.
the Gathering recently has experienced the same thing. One of the previous heads of Philip Morris has moved in and is now in partial stewardship of Magic the Gathering as a company. And as we made note of before, the rapidity of their sets and the pace that they're putting out more product, along with how they're selling it to people in a very microtransaction, direct-to-consumer way, I think we're seeing this across the board. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how you're handling your game so well, setting a low price and giving a lot of content up front, feature complete kind of thing with further updates.
Right.
And I think that's a great thing that Baldur's Gate 3 did this recent year, is that what they actually gave to people when they bought it was a full product.
Right.
Unlike a lot of things that are now piecemealed together after the fact, a la Cyberpunk.
Yep.
It's interesting.
All right, so now I just have to show this because I'm just like I'm bad at this YouTube thing.
I was gonna give Llama an example. There's basically a new product of Magic the Gathering at least once a month.
Oh my
Hold on.
God.
I want to do something visual here, and it's something you and I have done actually even on stream before. And why can't I remember how to present? Because I'm so good at this.
Yeah, their roadmap is you can see like the tremendous amount of product they're pushing.
When you can share this, I'm going to go down to like the beginning and work our way up. I remember discussing this with you on a stream a long time ago, just to give you a relative idea.
Yeah, we've done this.
So if what you're looking at here, Llama, these are the set releases chronologically from the very beginning.
Okay.
And So we're going to kind of catch up to where you were. So 93,
This is
94.
already more than I was expecting, honestly.
Right, but just wait. It's going to get some of
You
these
have
are
to
like
remember, if you look at
supplementary or
some of them
little
are
kind of
promos,
like a little
Okay,
sealed
okay.
booster,
Yeah.
that kind
Got
of thing.
Well,
Got
wait,
But
it
you can
gets
see
worse.
like all the way up through like 7th edition. Where the hell was 7th? Was that 2004?
There's Ravnica. So yeah.
It was one of my
Oh,
favorite.
here,
should be-
2001, right?
Yeah.
So you can see all the way up to where like you initially played. It's pretty consistent. It's not terrible. And then we start getting a little bit more, even when you get up into like Ravnica.
That's still not bad. 9
Yeah.
a
Up in
year,
this
that's
era.
okay.
Return to Ravnica.
Not
there,
bad.
Yep.
With
Magic
including some
15.
promos.
But 2015 getting a little bit more, but still not crazy.
Yeah.
And then we get to 2017, 18, 19,
Jesus.
20.
Oh my
21.
God.
This is
No.
2022.
That's like 7 years worth of content.
And
Like,
to go,
but that's what
along
we
with
were
this
saying.
as well.
It-
Something
is there was-
unfortunately, something we can't actually display here along with this data is that they implemented something called secret layers, which you can go directly to Wizards of the Coast website and buy specialty products directly from them. So
Okay.
along
Yeah,
with
they're
this,
limited edition
in
type things.
2023, they put out 54 different secret layers.
Oh my
So
God.
more than one per week. You could buy a
Well-
specialty version of a select cards.
What's even worse, though, for you, Llama, is within each of these, when you see a set, unlike what you're used to, where you just bought a draft box.
Yeah.
Well, now they have draft boxes, set boxes, collector boxes, commander boxes, supplementary packs, fat packs. It's like
They've got
Yeah.
pre-cons and
multiply
multiple
these
factions.
even more, right? It's
Wild.
it went bonkers.
It's
Right.
it's the I mean it's again just the classic way of new age gaming that has been taken over by businessmen, and they're going to try and monetize the crap out of every single thing. Forget the integrity of the game, forget the history, forget what'll happen to it in a few years because
Oh yeah,
of it.
did you see some of the things in there? Doctor Who,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Like
Just-
they're cool. I like.
I want
it.
to ask him. Hold on. So you asked me when I asked you first. I remember you said, "What are you going to have me come on your show and ask if this card's a good card?"
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick one, and we're going to see what your feel of it is. And it's very recent, and it speaks to what Matt's saying. It's causing kind of a stir, but this is also happening alongside all the other things that we. And actually, you're probably unaware of the real stir that this thing caused, because do you know who Post Malone is?
Yeah.
He bought a 1-of-1 serialized card for $2 million.
Yeah.
So one
Ring.
card, $2 million.
I'm sure he's heard of the One Ring.
This is unfair because I know the One Ring is
Yeah.
Oh, do you?
solid,
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
Give me a different card. I know about the One
It's
Ring.
it's actually busted. It is.
do you
one
know
of
how
those
good it is?
broken
Yeah,
items
yeah,
in the
yeah.
game.
It's full busted. Yeah.
okay. Well, I didn't know what your experience was when you asked it. I'm like, so we'll throw like a Black Lotus at him and see if it's,
So-
any good.
Okay.
This came out during Odyssey, probably one of the blocks that you were taking a break on. So this card is called Price of Glory.
Ooh.
For 2 and 1 red, you get an enchantment that says whenever a player taps a land for mana during another player's turn, destroy that land.
Okay. I mean, I feel like this nowadays would be like way more broken if I'm bringing it in, because nowadays it's like everything is flashing, everything is, it's, I feel like
it's all
so much
instant speed. Yeah.
right. Everything is moving at instant speed, whereas back then, not nearly as much stuff was moving at instant speed.
Right.
You had a lot
And
more
on top
source
of that, 3 mana, you can get out pretty quickly, right?
Oh, yeah,
you
you-
could
yeah.
have
Turn
them
1
on the
or 2.
board,
That's
and
turn
if you're
2
playing
easy
against
for
a
lot
blue
of stuff.
player, a lot
Yeah.
of protection.
Yeah.
What do you
yeah.
think,
So I mean,
Joe?
this is clearly the like anti-counter spell, the anti-control player right here. And you just can't even cast. You can't cast a counter spell because then you lose the game. You lose all your mana and the game's over.
Right,
Well,
yeah.
Nowadays, the mana base of a lot of like CDH, which is the competitive EDH,
Yeah.
a lot of the mana base now is a mana rocks. So
Interesting.
depending on the play style or the play group that you're in, this actually might not do anything. So it's really weird. It's very
It's
definitely it's a taboo card. Destroying lands is not really something a lot of people really like to do.
Yeah.
Or maybe they like to do it, but the backlash you receive when destroying somebody's lands, not technically
right.
Oh, actually, no. Pull up what's the card? Back to Basics. Pull up Back to Basics.
Never played.
Yes.
I've never seen this card in person because it is so unaccepted in most play groups to destroy land. I've never seen it. I own a copy because I thought it would be something funny. This will almost certainly never get reprinted because it is absolutely unacceptable to mess with other people's cards in that way.
Yes.
So even though it seems very powerful, it's got a lot of really good stuff going for it. Never gets on the table.
Yeah, I totally believe it. I look at it and I'm like, yes, that is it. That card looks brokenly good, especially nowadays with the current with
bring
all
it
the
back
cards
to
that
basics.
exist. But I can see I totally believe that it's like it's just so taboo. It's kind of like some of the things that I don't play a lot of Commander, but I know that there's like some cards in Commander where it's like if you play it, people will just like not play with you anymore. They're like, no, you're ruining the game.
Yeah, this is a card that I played against actually semi recently last month. I play in a Commander league, so it's like a league. Basically, you play one game a week, and it is to compete against other people for a prize or whatever. First and second place get like a $40 gift card.
Nice.
So I'm somewhat of a tryhard sweaty. I don't like losing and I like winning, so I play the best decks I can. I was playing a 3-color deck. Well, I was playing a 3-color deck, so of course you're going to play a lot of multicolored lands, and especially when you're. Why would you play a basic land when you're in 3 colors? Typically you don't, because there's so many multicolored lands now. You can play all of them and just never play basics.
Yeah.
Well, there's a guy that played a card called Back to Basics, and it basically states an enchantment that states non-basic lands don't untap.
Nice.
Just ever.
Yeah. There's also
cool.
There's also the one that
cool.
turns all non-basics into mountains, I think.
Blood Moon.
Blood Moon.
Yeah, Blood Moon.
Yeah,
there's two of them. There's Blood Moon and Magus of the Moon. He's a
same idea. So it's like you can just hard lock.
But I'm okay with that. At least you can tap it for mana. But like,
Bob's got another great
card
one here for you.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
Okay, let me look.
This is a recent entry from the crossover Universes Beyond. Is one of the Lord of the Ring cards. So it's called Orcish Bowmasters.
When it enters the battlefield and whenever an opponent draws a card, except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, Orcish Bowmaster deals 1 damage to any target, then amass. Or what is amass?
You create a token that's a 1/1, and if you already have a token, it just gets larger. So it gets amass works 1, it would get 1 more, it'll get an additional 1 counter every card that's drawn.
All right, so this just seems busted. This is brokenly good. It's got to be played everywhere, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
it's basically the one ring. It's the one ring. It's the counter to the one ring, though. I will say,
because the one ring you draw the cards. So then
you draw a bunch of cards, and then this pings any target. So not only creatures, it can kill a bunch of mana dorks. Like any, this card it can kill another Orcish Bowmaster because you can flash it in, and depending on the turn priority,
and then they flash in
your Orcish Bowmaster will potentially kill their Orcish Bowmaster before they can kill yours. It's very weird. But yeah,
it's kind of like that old school counter spell where you just discarded it or discard a card.
There was the cycle discard.
Force of will.
Was it Force of Will?
Yeah.
So you discard a blue card and you get to cast it for free.
But there was another one I thought
you take a damage.
That was maybe it was Force of Will. There was a card, and because Force of Will is like really old. That's the There was another one that was.
You're talking about newer ones. There's the Commander one.
It's no. It's discard. It's counter spell unless the controller pays 1 or something like that.
Spell Pierce or.
There's a couple of those.
But you can discard to pay it for free.
Oh.
You can discard to pay it for free.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like a force spike, but I don't remember. Nah, if they pay.
And then there's Fierce Guardianship, which is if you have your commander out, you can play for free.
Okay, that's not it either. Counter spell unless player.
I could see Mr. Llama going down a huge rabbit hole of getting back into Magic.
Oh, I told you, he's the type that would be, rival to Matt.
The smile on his face, like typing off to the side as he's looking up cards. He's like, I'm gonna wreck these dudes.
I'm gonna surprise them with my collective voyage.
What is the name of that one? Basically, there was a counter spell that was
Circular Logic.
Yeah, counter target spell, unless Mental Misstep might be it. Actually,
Mental Misstep is you pay 2 life, and it counters any 1 converted mana cost.
Yes, that's it. It is Mental Misstep, I believe.
Yeah, so it's free because you pay 2 life because it has Phyrexian mana.
Yeah, that's right. It's life.
And it counters any 1 drop.
Yeah, but then you would everybody would just start playing it to okay, you have the Mental Misstep, but then I play the Mental Misstep to counter your Mental Misstep on turn 1.
Yeah.
Or you'd be a red deck, but you just have Mental Missteps in there because, you just pay the life instead.
I can, yeah.
And it just kind of
became
really stupid. I think it's banned now, is my assumption.
It's banned in some formats, And there was another similar thing is if you remember Phyrexian cards, Dismember was another one that no matter what color you played, you'd play Dismember because it's an instant removal. It's 2 Phyrexian black and one colorless.
Yeah.
And -2, -5, or -5, -5 to the creature. So you just played in any color because it's free removal.
Right. And so there was just that just reminded me of that same idea where it was like, all right, well, now every deck is just playing this just to counter
That's why the One
misstep
Ring
of the other person playing it.
I'm calling it. The One Ring will be banned in Commander. I'm calling it. It is a colorless card that can go in every single color. Normally in Commander, you can only play the colors of your commander.
Right.
And the One Ring is just their criteria for banning things isn't necessarily on power. It's more about if it's an automatic inclusion in every single deck and is that powerful, then it'll probably get banned.
And it has
I'm actually surprised it's not banned already.
Draw the cards and it's
cannot lose, protection from everything. You draw the cards. There's ways to flicker it to reset the number of counters on it. There's ways to sacrifice it for benefit. Yeah. It's just so strong. I haven't lost a game
including Commander Raids.
Why not? There's no reason not to.
It's insane. Speaking of, Bob, why don't you take a moment to kind of explain the format of Commander Raids? Because I think that's going to lead well into your next card here.
So we were talking a little bit behind the scenes with Mr. Llama here, and he seems a little intrigued. But for those of you, the new folks out there in the audience that are watching, we've come up here on our channel, Cardboard Odysseys, with a Commander format that is PvE, meaning it's cooperative. You don't play against each other, you play with each other. What does that allow us to do? You play with your hands up, so new players, you can help them make decisions, you can help the team, so they don't have to be super powerful. And rather than going up, if your group happens to be, filled with that one tryhard that just wants to win every time, instead of it being negative, it's a positive that you can take disparate power level players and all have an enjoyable experience. And the boss is an entity that does not have any cards. So there's no deck. He has no cards, doesn't attack you with creatures. What it is instead is there's a table, and you can adjust that. We have easy mode, regular mode, hard mode, and we're coming up with more bosses every now and then.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is the way that it works is you roll a 20-sided die every time it's the boss monster's turn. The boss always goes last. The more players you have, the more life points he has. So it scales pretty well. Now, it doesn't roll. The boss doesn't roll on turn 1. It's basically the turn number divided by 2 rounded down. So it'll roll its first die on turn 2, but on turn 3 it rolls 1 die. On turn 4 it rolls 2 die, and so on and so on. So every even turn you add an additional die, so you get an additional effect during its turn, and multiple effects. So it also builds in a timer. A problem with a lot of Commander games is they'll go 3, 4, 5 hours in just a slog.
Yeah.
This game, it's got about a 30 to 40 minute timer on it. Either you're gonna kill them as a team, or you're gonna lose. It's pretty simple. Now, as part of that, Matt said, "Why would you ever play basic lands?" a few minutes ago. It gives a home to cards because of the nature of a lot of the way the cards are built. And Pat, I don't know if you want to show it. One of the basic core tenets is that you're trying to play cards that only benefit your team. So what Join Forces is on this card, so for 1 green mana, I can play this, and then everybody else can pay X mana if they have it untapped. And every X mana, everybody gets to go searching in their library, grab a basic land and put it into play tapped.
Nice.
So if everybody contributes like 5 mana each, you're going and getting 20 basic lands out of your deck for the next turn, and it turbocharges it. And there's just a lot of cards that don't have a home.
Well-coordinated turn one. If the 4 of us are playing and Matt says, last in order, he says, hey, I've got Collective Voyage. Pat, Bob, Llama, each put out 1 basic. I'll put out 1. I'll
Soul
throw
Ring.
Collective Voyage out. Turn 1, we all go and get 3 basics to put on the battlefield, which is obscenely aggressive ramp. And that's one of the fun things is you get to have these out loud conversations about what you want to do because it's a cooperative experience, you know?
Sounds fun. I would join in and play a round of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. We built the different power levels, like the first power level of easy mode is essentially if you just go out and buy one of the precons, meaning you don't even have to think about building a deck. And then if you have some experienced Magic players, you can all coordinate on how to play the game cooperative. I love cooperative gaming. Like I asked you, have you played? You said you play board games. Like I love the co-op board games, like Pandemic. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. That's a co-op board game. Zombicide is a co-op board game. There's a Lord of the Rings co-op board game. Imperial Assault. You know, there's a lot of cooperative board games now. It's not like you say board games to people, they think like Monopoly, Parcheesi, where everybody's competing. But they're the newer generation of board games. Many of them are cooperative, right? And I love that element in all new card games. I keep trying to push that button of look. The majority of players out there, whether it's Diablo 2, World of Warcraft, Magic the Gathering, doesn't matter. If it's gaming, a larger percentage of the population at large are casual players of games.
Yeah.
Life's busy. Not everybody can be the best hardcore no-lifer playing games, right? And I think that the cooperative versions of games, by and large, appeal more to the like even in Diablo. Would you say more people play PvP or more people play the cooperative multiplayer version?
For sure. Yeah.
Right. And it's because of that casual nature, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being competitive. It's just I think that there's in the gaming world far more casual people. And so you're going to appeal to more people by finding that casual, which was the intent of this, bring more people in.
Escape and it just stops. And then I can go check the potatoes in the kitchen, you know?
Yeah.
It's definitely great for that kind of a thing. And I think as you're mentioning, there's definitely different play styles for every game. And that's something that, you really have to speak to, especially when you're designing something, is how people are going to interact with it. Hardcore players, the softcore people that are just going to be in for an hour or two. And some games you just can't even do that. There's no reason playing World of Warcraft for less than 90 minutes.
Oh, EverQuest is terrible. Like if you only have a little bit, you're not playing that game for 20 minutes. you won't even get where you're going.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious about that since I've got you here and you're kind of captive audience with Llama RPG. How are you going to broach all of those things? I've got 30 minutes to play. Are you making it so that you can do something meaningful in 30 minutes?
Yeah, for sure. So Llama RPG is trying to appeal to a variety of audiences. Now, I don't want to try to appeal to everybody too much. I feel like that's where some games go wrong. They lose identity when they try to appeal to too many people. So there's definitely will be appeal more towards people, I think, that want to invest time and play within it. But the idea is it is a turn-based game. It is loot. It is all of this. So kind of like Diablo 2, you can pop on and do some Mephisto runs, right, for 30 minutes or an hour or whatever, and then you can hop off and you're good if you want to do that. Or you can get on and you can play through the whole game and spend tons of hours, or grinding up to 99, any of that. So I kind of want the short-term pieces to be like that. I also relate to chess with it in that I want to build kind of like a PvP ladder ranking system. And so you could literally join a PvP fight. Maybe that's 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it is. And then you move on to the next one, kind of like a chess game, right? You can do like a blitz chess game, 5 minutes a pop. It's 10 minutes max. You can play as many of those as you want. So you can sit down and really have a long, deep chess game, or you can just join in and just do some fast chess games and do a couple puzzles and be done for the day. So I'm kind of approaching it from that capacity of have the short ways you can engage. You can get in, you can just go do some quick farming. You can do some, quick PvP rounds, whatever it is. Or you can get in, you can go out, you can fight the monsters, you can, journey through and try and beat this endgame boss and all of this stuff. And it becomes this like much more difficult piece. Are you going to allow pre-mades in your PvP? What would a pre-made be? Like a pre-made?
Having like a select team of 3 people join up as a group.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So that is probably like a later thing to be added in, right? But yeah, the general idea is there will be 2s or 3s that you could join in and have like a 2v2 or a 3v3 PvP battle. There's formations that will exist for party play where you can use that to try and, keep your healer in the back so they take less damage, all of this. And then for raiding, there would be a similar idea where you can go out and, you can have a few of you guys versus one boss. And same idea.
Interesting. How are you doing on time, by the way, Llama? We're going on 2 hours here. How are you doing on time?
I probably got to go here pretty soon. I got to do dinner and baby things.
Yep, that's what I figured. All right, chat. If you have any last questions, let's do like a quick lightning round. Any last questions for Mr. Llama? Thank him for being our wonderful guest on the podcast.
It's fantastic.
And,
I do have one question of you, just sort of the last wrapping it up for you. What questions do you have for us? Do you have any specifically for us as both an audience, content creators, game creators, gamers? What we've asked you a ton of questions. What have you got for us?
I would probably ask you guys, what's your journey goal? Like you had asked me about my kind of goal for the future, all of that. What's kind of your goal here? I think this podcast is really fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
We're kind of like Cartman. We run with 12 gangs. We do what we want.
I think that in a similar vein is that I want to be able to hang out with reasonably like-minded individuals in the same atmospheres of games that I play, and I want to be able to get exposed to more games to play and have a forum where I can kind of hang out and discuss those with other people, and then also maybe showcase that gameplay. Exhibit some of my enthusiasm for different things I'm getting into and be able to expand the pool of enjoyment I have and maybe showcase some of that to other people as well. If I'm really into something and I'm enthused for it, I'd like to be able to get other people into it. I think one of the best things about gaming nowadays is even like you're doing single player gaming, you're able to share with other people. And in that way, you make it a community game. Not multiplayer, but in a way, community. I think that's something I would like to be able to do more. And now with multiplayer gaming, I can actually interact with some of my audience using the WASD keys, Yeah.
That's nice.
A couple of questions in the audience there, actually.
All right.
So have you ever played Grim Dawn?
Yeah, I've played Grim Dawn. I need to honestly play more of it. I've actually played more Titan Quest than I have played Grim Dawn, which is like the predecessor, the grindier version of Grim Dawn, right? So it's kind of like Diablo 1 versus Diablo 2 in a way. Titan Quest is Diablo 1, Grim Dawn C2. And I really loved it. I thought Titan Quest was fantastic. I loved the pacing on it. Grim Dawn didn't hook me quite as much, but I also feel like I need to give it more time.
It's evolved a lot over the years. I think you'll enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And there's a mod community for it, of course.
Yeah.
But they allow it. And what's really cool about it, there's a Diablo 2 mod for Grim Dawn where they've recreated every single, and I'm telling you, recreated, not they've recreated Diablo 2 kind of like a remastered where like you'll like run through and like, this is I don't know, an iconic, this is like a what you call it? I don't know, iconic zone. I can't for some reason I'm mind blanking at any zone in Diablo 2. Sanctuary, yeah, exactly. You'll run to this zone, you'll go, they nailed it. This is damn good.
Yeah.
I've
of course,
good things. Yeah, it's very, very good. Highly recommend checking it out.
And I hear they have a big release coming out this year for Grim Dawn. So
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and another one that's another action RPG game we haven't even talked about. Last Epoch. Last Epoch is another one.
Yep.
Oh, we haven't talked about a bunch of them. We haven't talked about
Yeah.
Torchlight. I mean,
There's
like we
tons,
can't cover them all tonight. Sorry, guys.
Nope. Then we got another
That's probably
question.
the last question here.
Any plans for games done quick appearances in the future?
Yeah, I kind of like. I've done
kind of a lot of those.
7, I believe.
Yeah.
Of them, 7. I think it's 7. So I've done a lot of GDQs. I felt like I was kind of like, okay, I've done enough for a bit. And then I had a baby, pregnant, and then the baby, so it was like not a good time.
Yeah.
I feel like now that the baby's getting a little older, we can see a GDQ appearance again in the future. That'd be something I'd love to go back and do. And I would probably just do, another normal run, or maybe I could squeeze in, see if I could get like a Hell Sorceress run to get approved, try and go through in 2.5, 3 hours if they'd allow that much time on it. I think that would be really fun. And there's a lot of just great new stuff to show off as well, right? With all the like wave skipping and the Ancients bugs and all this stuff. I think that's like a really like fun piece. So yeah.
Is that Moo?
Okay. Moo had a baby, but I was a participant for at least 25 seconds in the creation.
So and thank you, Moo, for letting him come out and play with us tonight. That's very
he'll be coming shortly. Don't worry.
That's right.
And my closing comments will be thank you so much for coming on here tonight, Mr. Llama. It's really an honor to have you here. You've been a fantastic guest, and as far as I'm concerned, you're welcome here anytime. Hopefully, we'll have you as a guest some point in the future. Maybe when you release Llama RPG.
I'd love it.
Oh, true. That would be really cool doing like an FAQ or something like that with your game.
Yeah, I'd love to join again with that. I mean,
also, if you have any influence in Diablo 2 remastered, which I don't know, you might because you're one of the biggest content creators. Why haven't they added a quality of life feature to the game that every action RPG game that's come out? Why not just click to move? Why the hell is there not click to move?
They brought it in, but it's the E key.
Wait, really?
Click to move exists, but you have to push E instead.
You
cannot find it to your mouse.
Okay,
I don't know.
It's better than nothing because I'll tell you what. Yeah. The last time I played Diablo 2 Remastered, I made a Paladin and I made a Hammerden, and I got to about Nightmare at Marsh Flats, somewhere around Nightmare. And I just kept getting name locked constantly. And I did the thing where you have the throw weapon on the left click, but you don't have anything equipped, and it would still do the thing where like it won't move. And I'm like,
because I can't do this yet.
It's unplayable. I cannot play. I can't.
It's a big issue. I know. There's many.
Anyways, that's honestly, they fixed that. I'll play again.
There you go. I will let them know.
The E key might work. I don't know.
Give it a try. Go check it out. Check it out.
But yeah, thanks a lot, man, for coming on. It was a pleasure. And what's the next? Let the people know where can we find you, and what's the next big thing for the last closing segment?
I'll be streaming tomorrow evening after the Cowboys game. Hopefully, it's a good stream. I'm happy. And
where's that at?
Twitch.tv/MrllamaSC and YouTube.com/MrllamaSC. I stream on both of them now.
Okay.
Cowboys Browns Super Bowl.
Browns lost. They got crushed by the Texans 45-14 today.
Wow.
Sorry about you.
See.
Sorry.
I still want to reach out next year.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Well, hey, this has been an absolute pleasure. As we said before, thank you very much for coming by. We really appreciate your time and your insights. So until the next time we get to talk, you be well and you take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Don't dance. Don't do it.